Welcome to a triple Game Week 35 deadline stream. And hopefully we can move on from Game Week 34, where I got 34 points. A bit poetic really. But I'll be going through all your questions. I have made two free transfers, which I'll be going on about shortly, and I'll show you my bench and all of that good stuff. And also discuss my plans, kind of modified now, following the news of the triple game week for Manchester United. I'll be talking about my plans for Game Week 36, where I could take a hit or two. But for this week, I've made two free transfers, so no hits at the moment. And it's all about timing as well. And I'll be explaining all of that. But thank you everyone who is here. Really appreciate it. And let's go for your questions. Linda says, hello Dylan, Mcguire or Shaw for the rest of the season? In terms of being nailed and who's going to start the most, you would say Mcguire, but what Ollie said today kind of maybe puts a second doubt into your mind, because he was talking about how Mcguire's played every single minute for Manchester United since his arrival from Leicester City. And he said that it's going to be impossible for him to maintain that record because of the triple game week. So if that's the case, and then with Luke Shaw, getting a break against Roma, or at least being substituted early, you would maybe think that Shaw is still the better option. But heading into the Europa League final around Game Week 38, maybe you could have an argument where you say, you know what, Telles could play in the Premier League there, and Shaw will be rested for the Europa League final. I still prefer Shaw. Mcguire does get a lot of yellow cards as well, but I still think Mcguire will get more minutes, but Shaw's attacking potential is probably worth it. Welcome Aditya, hopefully I said that right. Thank you very much. And Seema, hi Dylan, who are your top 5 transfer targets for this week and top 3 captaincy options, as Peter Peters? A very good question. In terms of captaincy, I think this is kind of a bit more straightforward. I'd say Bruno Fernandes, Salah and Nacho. Those would be like the top 3. But if you don't have Bruno Fernandes, or if you don't have some of these players, there are alternatives, as I always say. Greenwood's another one. Even Rashford with his rest. Those are good captaincy options. But my top 3 would be Bruno Fernandes, Salah and Nacho. But even besides, players that I have, there are other people you could potentially go for. But, I look at Chelsea, for example, and the fixtures are very tough for me to even, say captain a defender or maybe a Havertz or something like that. So I'd mainly be looking at Manchester United. So yeah, Rashford, Greenwood would be the main ones I'd be looking at outside my own team. And then, from Leicester City, if you don't have Nacho or you don't want to go for him, you could maybe go for Vardy. But I just think that those 3 that I mentioned, I mean, it might be a bit biased because I have them in my team. I think those are the top 3. You said top 5 transfer targets this week. Well, I'll talk about my transfers and then talk about how that factors into your question. So I took out Conor Cody for Luca Digne, and I took out Heung-min Son for Greenwood. And it's a bit risky, Son has had 2 double-digit returns in back-to-back weeks, and I'm getting rid of him for Greenwood. But what this move and also future planning, what it allows me to do is bring back Son or Bale, depending on who I'm fancying a bit more, into Game Week 36. So I'm only missing out on 1 game week, and Greenwood has a triple game week. So you would suspect that he'll outscore him. You never know about that. And then, Luca Digne is a big upgrade on Conor Cody, and he's got a good fixture in 36, whereas Cody faces Tottenham away. And how does that leave my bench? I've got Forster in goal, who should play both games, and you could arguably play him over Mendy, but I just back Chelsea's defence a bit more. I do have Rudiger, though, to be fair, but I just don't rate Southampton defensively. I've got Keane there, who, to be fair, I think he is going to get some minutes, and if anything, start both games, but I'm not entirely convinced. So that's why getting Luca Digne in and just having that kind of secured. And then in Game Week 36, if Keane does start in Game Week 35 and he's got his spot back, I can have double Everton defence against Sheffield United at home, and then after that I can get rid of them, because ultimately I don't trust Everton. And then Lingard second sub, sounds very weird to say that following his great form, following his move to West Ham United, and then Vidra final sub. So that's how my team is looking like at the moment, and pretty happy with it overall. And in terms of the future transfers, what I would be doing, I'd be looking to get Soufal in, and probably he'd be coming in for Shaw, especially with the future blanks in mind. I could also get Meslier in for Mendy, because Forster probably won't play in Game Week 36 also, so I need cover there. And in terms of the front line, Nacho can be moved on to Antonio. So those are kind of some of the moves I'm looking at. And then, of course, as I alluded to earlier, Bale or Son could come back in, but for Bruno Fernandes probably, and I'd keep Greenwood. So that's kind of the moves I am contemplating. Top 5 transfer targets this week. yeah, I'd definitely be saying Digne, Greenwood, even Rashford if you back him, but Greenwood ultimately is my preference. Cavani would be another one, but his minutes are a bit skewed, so he's not someone I could literally tell you with full conviction, you should get him in. And a lot of people don't have Bruno Fernandes. I would be suggesting to get him in. But if you can't afford the likes of Digne, then I would recommend Coleman. He's another one. So definitely an Everton defender would be amongst that. A Manchester United attacker or midfielder, and Greenwood falls under that category. Other moves, I'll be honest, I'm not too sure. But if you don't have Nacho, I would get him in now. This is kind of last chance saloon, because from game week 36 onwards, I probably wouldn't recommend bringing him in. Castagne's another one. I think he could be very good this week, and maybe a Crystal Palace asset. So Wilfred Zaha, he should be fine. I think Roy Hodgson pretty much said he has no injury. So him, maybe a Ward or a Gaiter in goal. Those are kind of the top transfer targets that come to mind instantly. So I would be recommending them instead. Also, would you take a hit to get a double game week when using the bench boost chip? Thanks and good luck. Let's finish strong. Thank you, Peter Peters. Likewise to you. Would you take a hit and get a double game week to get a double game? Well, yeah, for a bench boost chip, taking a -4 or even a -8, it could be profitable. But I always say if it kind of approaches the -12, -16, -20 territory, then I would say no, even with a bench boost in mind. But yeah, I think a hit is fine, especially if the player you're bringing in has good fixtures and is also good going into game week 36 and 37. So yeah, I think it's good. Is Man United defence really essential, or is it a trap due to tough fixtures and tiredness due to less rest time between successive matches? Great question, Vivek. To be honest, I do think that some Manchester United assets can be a trap. And I do think that for people who are doubling or tripling up on Man United defence, I mean, who's tripling up? But yeah, for those people who are really overloading on the defence, I think that's a bit excessive. I completely understand the logic though, but even with Mcguire, who's the most nailed, who's never missed a single minute, he could ultimately be benched in one of the games. And it makes perfect sense. I mean, 3 games in 5 days is just... I don't really know why they did that, but it happened, and there we go. It is what it is. Son and Diaz to Fernandes and Digne, or is there any other option, says William, and thank you for your comment, really appreciate it. To be honest, yeah, I think Diaz, it's worth getting rid of him. Manchester City, yeah, they're going to play their strongest team against Chelsea, but ultimately there are better options, so I would do that. And yeah, Son to Fernandes, and then you could do the reverse next week. I think that makes perfect sense. So yeah, I'd probably say those are the best options you have on paper. Maybe instead of Digne, I mean, I'm not sure, to be honest. I look at this week and also game week 36, and I think Digne is one of the standouts. So I think that's the best ones you can go for. Gassan says Cavani, question mark. Yeah, as I said before, not for me, because he just gets rotated too much. So for me, for Manchester United, Luke Shaw or maybe a Wan-Bissaka in defence, and then Bruno and Greenwood, that would be the kind of triple up I'd be looking at. Maybe a Mcguire still. He is going to be the most nailed, or one of the most nailed in Manchester United. But yeah, ultimately Cavani would be kind of 4th, 5th, 6th in terms of, my rankings of Manchester United assets, and same with Rashford. So that's my opinion on him. Dipesh says, have to bench one of Jota, El Ghazi, Kane and Son this week. Any suggestions? I know it might sound a bit crazy, but I'd probably bench El Ghazi, if anything. I don't trust him enough. Ultimately, if Aston Villa score, especially with Grealish being absent, I think El Ghazi could be one of the sparks, but yeah, I'd bench him out of those lot. Gabe says, hey Dylan, what a crazy game week we have. Check out my team. What do you think? Mendy, Mitchell, Mcguire, -4, Aspi, Zaha, Lingard, Saka, Son, Bamford, Kane, Nacho. Looks very good. I'll be honest though, and I'm not just saying this because of what happened yesterday. It's just something that's been happening all season. I just see Saka there, and I'm not really filled with confidence. But obviously, he's a budget option. He could do well, but yeah, I think he's the one that you could improve on in that in your whole team, really. But the rest looks fine. I'm not too sure about Mitchell per se, but yeah, it looks like a solid team overall. Hey lad, all the love from Malaysia over here. Yeah, I remember all the love from Malaysia in the last live stream. Big up Malaysia, and thank you for joining in, and good luck with this game weekend. If you have any questions, then yeah, put them in. Captain Zaha, says Cabe. Okay, fair enough, yeah. And you brought him in. I think he could be a great differential this week. The only kind of problem I always have with Zaha is he's inconsistent because he plays for such a poor team offensively. But if Zaha clicks, then yeah, you could be in for a massive haul and a great rank boost. So it looks good. Should I have Gaiter or Pickford? If you already have an Everton defender, then I'd go for Gaiter. But If not, and you're not looking to get an Everton defender in, I probably would prefer Pickford, because I also look at Game Week 36 and I like that fixture, although obviously Crystal Palace do have Sheffield United in Game Week 35. However, I probably would prefer Pickford if nothing else comes into play. Although with him, bear in mind that Ancelotti has no kind of qualms about benching him for Olsen, so that's kind of a problem with it. But otherwise, yeah, Pickford. VM Meta says, do you think I should get Jota and Greenwood for Maddison and Lingard? Greenwood, yes. I'm not too sure about Jota, though, to be honest, because if you look at the lineup that got released before the game got cancelled between Liverpool and Manchester United, Jota was on the bench. So maybe he will start against Southampton, but he's going to be benched against Manchester United. So I'm not too sure about Jota, but definitely Greenwood, I'd get him in. Rashford or Greenwood captain? I probably would go for Greenwood. I look at the recent stats and I look at how clinical he's been, and even when he comes off the bench, he's just producing an impact. I'd go for him, but Rashford does have the rest and maybe he will pick up his form. So you can never really go against him, but I prefer Greenwood in this moment in time. Ario says, hi mate, your thoughts about the dry spell for Vardy? I mean, it's been happening for the last 22 game weeks, if anything. I think he's got 2 goals in that period. So yeah, with Jamie Vardy, I just think he's taken this kind of more creative role in the Leicester City side. And even when there are kind of periods in a game where Leicester City are being direct and lumping the ball forward to Jamie Vardy to run into the spaces, it doesn't last for very long. And ultimately, most of the big chances fall to Nacho. So yeah, if you have him, I'd keep him, but I wouldn't be looking to bring him in, and I do prefer Nacho. And ultimately, after Game Week 35, so from Game Week 36 onwards, I'm not really too keen on Leicester City assets. Thoughts on Zaha and Bowen? Bowen I'm not too keen on. I think Lingard and Antonio look like the best ones from West Ham. And with Zaha, yeah, from Palace, he's a great option, and looking for the next 2 game weeks looks like a great option. But ultimately, I don't trust Crystal Palace. That's why I didn't go for him in my own team. Aranya says, how likely are the United players to start in every single match in this triple game week? Very unlikely. I think the most likely are Bruno Fernandes, Mcguire, and probably Wan-Bissaka. I think Wan-Bissaka could be the one, because Brandon Williams is his understudy and he's just nowhere near good enough at this moment in time. So yeah, those would be kind of the main ones I'd be looking to, and maybe Dean Henderson. But David De Gea had a great performance yesterday against Roma. He might be rewarded with a game or 2 in the Premier League, so I couldn't really say that for sure. But if Ollie is the type to not really rotate keepers in the Premier League, then maybe Dean Henderson's another one. But yeah, Wan-Bissaka, Bruno, and yeah, probably, yeah, who did I say? Yeah, Mcguire, sorry, yeah. Mount to Ward-Prowse instead of Zaha to save a -8 over the next 2 game weeks. I'll be honest, I don't really like Ward-Prowse. I think it's a big over-reliance on set pieces, so not for me. On a free hit, start Pulisic or Martinelli as a punt. I'd start Pulisic. I'm not even sure if Martinelli is going to get the minutes he deserves. He's been very good when he's actually played. But yeah, I'd go for Pulisic. Best week for a bench boost? I'd say now. I mean, look at, for example, my team. Look how many double game week and triple game week players I have with just 2 free transfers. I literally have 11, and I'm playing Kane over Keane because I already have Digne for Everton cover. But yeah, I'd definitely say bench boost now. And if you have a free hit, maybe look to use in 36. But otherwise, 35, 36 is a good time to use the free hit. Hey Delamay, disappointed with Arsenal, but not surprised. Not going to talk about it more. Yeah, I don't want it either. They don't deserve our attention in lots of predicaments this week. First, Zaha or Greenwood? -4 out in 36, just Greenwood. For J-Lings, I probably prefer Greenwood. I mean, I went for it ultimately. I had the option of going for Zaha and maybe going for a United defender, but ultimately I went for Greenwood. And it's just Manchester United are a much better offensive unit. And even if Greenwood gets benched in one of the games, which is very likely, by the way, I just back him to do very well across all 3. He surely has a return in him, so I would say Greenwood, but Zaha is a good option. Jota out. I don't think he starts one of those games. I think he's going to start one of them, but I don't think he's going to start both. And I'll be honest, if I was on a wild card, even with these 2, or should I say the double game week for Liverpool in mind, I would get rid of him. So I completely get your sentiment there. Thoughts on Salah triple captain? I mean, there is kind of an argument there, because when they do face Man United, that's when they've already had 2 games within the space of, 3 days? So they're going to be knackered. So maybe this is the time where Salah breaks his duck in the Premier League at Old Trafford. I'm not entirely sure about triple captaining him. I think Bruno Fernandes this week, that would be my pick. But Salah's a good option, okay? No doubt about it. Even 38 against Palace at home, that's another great option for triple captaincy for Mo Salah. even a near Nacho or something like that. But yeah, it is a good option. But ultimately, if I had the triple captaincy, I'd be putting it on Bruno. But that's just my opinion on. Do you reckon I use my wild card? That's the last chip I have. It depends on your team situation. If you already have a very good team going into this game week, then you don't have to use it. You don't want to just force yourself into one. But yeah, I think now or game week 36 is a great time to use it. Play Lloris or Areola? Let's see, Fulham. I'll be honest. Yeah, Burnley. Oh, that's a tough one. I'd probably go for Lloris, but I don't trust either defense too much, but I'd go for Lloris. Hi again. Start one of Lingard, Vidra, or Cody. I'd start Lingard. Why do you have a Greenwood thumbnail? Because I got him in and he's a great, or should I say a popular choice this week. So don't worry, I know you hate Lingard. Do you think I should wildcard this week or next? I think next week better. My team: Martinez, Forster, Cancelo, Wan-Bissaka, Cody, Dallas, Lowton, Bruno, Salah, Son, Lingard, Greenwood, Vardy, Nacho, Brewster with one free transfer. That looks pretty solid this week. Obviously, if you kind of pick out holes in there, maybe Cancelo, Cody as well. But yeah, you could wildcard this week, to be fair, Donacha Power. I think you could. But ultimately, what I would do in your situation is try to make kind of an ideal team from now until the rest of the season, if you are on a wildcard this week, and compare it to how your team would be lining up this week and next week. And if you prefer the wildcard one, then you might as well wildcard now. But yeah, it's not a clear-cut choice, I think. Why are you preferring Greenwood over Rashford? Greenwood played 90 minutes against Roma, while Rashford played just 17 minutes. Because as I said before, with Rashford, he always has kind of a persisting injury or concerns. And with Greenwood, he's been in a much better form. And also, even if he comes off the bench, I actually back him to do well. So I just prefer Greenwood. He's been doing much better than Rashford recently. And a lot of times, if Pogba's played on the left, Rashford shifted to the right, where he's so ineffective compared to when he's on the left. So that's why I just prefer Greenwood, to be honest. Mcguire and Greenwood or Bruno and Lindelof, says Zucci. I'd probably say Bruno and Lindelof, but to be honest, I'm not too sure about that because Lindelof is probably more susceptible to being benched than Mcguire, and Baye could come in just like he did against Roma. But just Bruno. I think going without Bruno this week could be very costly. Hello, Dylan, Mount or Maddison, says Eddie. I'd probably say Mason Mount, but even then, I'm not too sure about that. For Game Week 35, I think Maddison will outscore Mount, but overall, I think Mount is a better option until 38. Bench 1, Son, Target, Lingard or Coleman? Probably Lingard, and if not Target, I would definitely start Son and Coleman. Seiss, Davis, Son to Shaw, DCL, Prowse, -8. That looks good, but I already said my piece on Ward-Prowse before. I'm not too sure about him, so I wouldn't really be that keen on that. So if you can stretch to a Zaha or a Greenwood, I'd go for them instead. Would you bring Digne in for Target for a -4? I'll be honest, I'm not too confident about Aston Villa, but I'm not that confident about Everton either. So taking a hit for an Everton defender, not too sure about that. But over the next 2 game weeks, I would suspect Digne to outscore Target pretty significantly, whether it's assists or a clean sheet. You know what, I'd say go for it, but yeah, I don't know. I'd mainly be looking at 36. That's the main reason why I'd say go for the hit. Is Lindelof a good option? I think he's a decent one, but ultimately I prefer Shaw still. I think he's going to start 2 out of the 3, and it could be the same for Lindelof. And if that's the case, then surely Shaw outscores him. Lingard size to Prowse, Shaw -4. Still not too sure about Prowse, but I do like the Shaw transfer. Start 2 out of Aspie, Nat Phillips, Kane, Lingard. I would start Aspilicueta and probably Kane. Hey Dylan, who's on your bench? As I showed before, Forster, Keane, Lingard and Vidra on my bench. Not too much to shout about. You could arguably start Keane or Lingard, but yeah, they're going to be benched. Thank you, Bakul. So hi, how are you, mate? I'm good. Hopefully you are too. Start Forster or Leno, and also start Rudiger or Son. I'd start Forster, and I would start Rudiger probably. Free hit, Rashford or Greenwood? I would still say Greenwood, but I obviously know now that Rashford's going to be a very popular option because he got rested, but I still prefer Greenwood. Is going for a Palace defender stupid? Not necessarily. Also got a good fixture in 36. But I wouldn't take hits for them. But if you can get a Gaiter or a Ward or something like that, then fair enough. But yeah, I wouldn't say stupid. Holding or Rudiger? Definitely Rudiger for me. Coleman or Keane or Target for a -4 points, only 5.1 million to spend, or an alternative defender. From those lot, probably Coleman. But yeah, I mean, the reason why I got Keane in the first place is because obviously before the Arsenal game when he got injured, he was the most nailed Everton defender other than Digne. But yeah, I'd go for Coleman. Martinez or Mendy? I'd go for Mendy, Marcus. Aspi and Jota out for Ward-Prowse and Digne. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a reason why a lot of people are going for Ward-Prowse. He can be a good option, but personally, I wouldn't advocate that. I wouldn't go for Ward-Prowse. I'd try to stretch to a Zaha or a Greenwood, but Digne, really like that transfer. Cody to Coleman. That's something that I was thinking about before Sing, and I think that's perfectly fine. It makes sense. I'd go for it. Will Coleman play twice? Says Sima. If I had to guess right now, this is the thing. I'm not entirely sure. That's why I ended up going for Digne and keeping Keane just in case, but not being too sure about it. I'd say Coleman will play twice and Keane will play at least once, but I'm not too sure about that. Is Joel Ward nailed after Klein is back? Nah, I wouldn't say he's completely nailed. And with Crystal Palace, I don't trust him enough anyway. And if there's going to be possible rotation or changes from Roy Hodgson, I'm not entirely sure. I think Gaiter is pretty much the most nailed Crystal Palace defensive asset you can go for. Have Bruno and Greenwood. Should I captain Greenwood for the upside? Rank at 130k, says Liam. That's a perfectly valid point you make. I think if you are kind of chasing, then there is an argument to go for Greenwood instead. And he has been in the much better form recently, looking at the Premier League only. But I just think that Bruno Fernandes is due a haul, and if he goes big, obviously you don't want to have this kind of fear talk. Ultimately, go for who you think is going to go for the most points or get the most points. And I think it's going to be Bruno, but I think he's due a haul. I think he has been playing well. He's just not getting the points for it. And against Rome in the first leg, he showed exactly what he can do. Even in the second leg, he had a good performance. So ultimately, I'd say go for Bruno. But if you want to chase and you have a good feeling about Greenwood, then go for it. Captain other than Fernandes, I already said this before, Anya, Salah, Nacho, and if not, if you want to go a bit different, Greenwood is another one. My team is Schmeichel, Wan-Bissaka, Christensen, Target, Fernandes, Rashford, Greenwood, El Ghazi, Sigurdsson, Iheanacho, Benteke. Who would you change? Probably El Ghazi, Benteke. I mean, I'm not too sure about them. Also, Sigurdsson, they're kind of options that could be very good for a single game week, and I completely understand that, but ultimately, if this is a free hit or something like that, I would be making a lot of changes to that team. But it's ultimately down to your personal opinion. Coleman or Holgate? I prefer Coleman. I think Holgate gets too many yellow cards. And there's a lot of centre-backs available. And I think Godfrey should be nailed. And maybe Michael Keane slots back in. And that means Holgate drops out. But then again, you look at the flip side. In the last 22 game weeks, I think Holgate started, 20 or something like that? But I prefer Coleman. Should I transfer in Zaha, take out Odegaard? Definitely Tiger and Guna. Just get rid of Arsenal assets. Adam says, hey Dylan, I have the exact funds for Son and Aspi to Bruno and Trent this week. Would you start Holding or Lingard though? I'd start Lingard over Holding. Rafinha and Calvin Phillips were cited back in first team training, meaning they should both be back for the Burnley game. Yeah, that's a good point you make, Dylan. And that's a big update and big boost for Leeds United. However, because of my team situation and the kind of transfers I have planned, I probably won't be going for Rafinha as I originally foresaw or planned. And also Leeds United, they've been on a downward slope offensively, even when Rafinha was in the starting lineup. But yeah, it's good news that you bring there. Hi mate, Kane, ESR, Masuaku to DCL, James Ward-Prowse, Mcguire for a -8. Thoughts? They look like good moves. Obviously, whenever you get rid of Kane, there's always a bit of a risk, or a very big risk. And as for getting James Ward-Prowse, I've already said my piece on him. I'm not too sure about him, but looks like good moves. Hi Dylan, currently on a free hit. Are Arsenal attackers like Alba worth it for West Bromwich Albion? For me, no. They're not worth it. I think Arsenal assets, I just avoid them. For one, there's too much rotation. Two, the atmosphere at the club and also just the performances and everything is just shambolic. And three, West Brom could still score a few goals and make it difficult for Arsenal at the Emirates. So, to be honest, I wouldn't go for Aubameyang or even any other Arsenal asset right now. Watkins or DCL, who's better? Well, Watkins has been in much better form, but because of the fixtures in 35 and 36, I'd go for DCL. But don't underestimate Watkins. He's been doing very well in the last 6-7 game weeks. Vardy plus Robertson or Mane plus Digne. Already have Trent. I'm not too keen on Mane. Obviously, I get this. The differentials who could potentially be very explosive. I do like Digne. Not too sure about Vardy either, but I would rather have him than Mane, so it's a bit of a difficult one. I'd probably go for Vardy and Robertson, but I'll be honest, I'm not too sure about either duo. I am maintaining Kane and Son, Lingard and benching Bamford. Any thoughts? Yeah. I actually think that's completely fine, considering they play Spurs and it could be a 0-0. I think you're making the right choice there. Captain Shaw, Greenwood or Mcguire? From those lot, I'd definitely captain Greenwood, and if not Shaw, Prasan. Which midfielder to sell? Bruno, Son, Mount, Lingard or Jota? Very good question. I wouldn't sell Bruno ahead of this week, definitely not. You could maybe move Son on to a Greenwood or a Zaha, and you'll have the funds for that. But if funds aren't an issue, I'd probably be looking to get rid of either Mount or Jota. And I say that because Jota's just not been doing it recently. He was benched against Manchester United before the game got called off. And I don't know. There's going to be a lot of uncertainty and inconsistency from him. But yeah, with Mount, I'm not too sure. He might get you an assist here and there, but not a great FPL asset as such. Obviously, he can prove me wrong and have a more offensive role in weeks to come. But yeah, I think Mount would be the one to get rid of. I have 2 free transfers. Is Kane and Nat Phillips to DCL and Trent worth it? I'd say so. Yeah, although I'm not really too keen on getting rid of Kane. There's an argument to do that. And just think about it. A lot of people are happy to sell Son, but he's got 2 double-digit returns in 2 games under Ryan Mason, whilst Kane hasn't scored or registered anything at all across both games. So, you know what? Maybe getting rid of Kane isn't so bad. Alba will be benched, likely Lacazette. If Lacazette is fit enough, then yeah. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. Arsenal are going to struggle either way. It doesn't matter who starts. Is Joel Ward nailed after Klein is back? Yeah, I already answered that question. Keep Jota or get Zaha or Greenwood, Rashford for a -4 hit. Oof. I'd be tempted to take a -4 hit to Greenwood. The only problem with that is that in Gameweek 36 he blanks and maybe Jota will play. I'd probably just keep him, and if he doesn't start across both games, then he's a big worry and I'd probably look to get rid of him. But obviously this game week poses a great opportunity to make that move. But I'd probably keep. Dylan, do you think Eze is a good option? I have Neto rotting on the bench. Not for me. I think from Crystal Palace, maybe Ward or another defender like that, Gaiter and Zaha. Those would be the only ones I'd be considering. Eze, a very talented player. He could maybe get an assist or 2, but ultimately I think there are better options. Amos Johnson says, should I get Greenwood or Zaha for Adama or get both for Son and Adama? Already have Bruno. Oof. I'd probably get both. So, you got Bruno. Yeah, I'd get both Zaha and Greenwood. But if not, just get Greenwood for Adama. No problem, Eddie. Should I start Son or Nat Phillips? I'd start Son still. Alexander. Hi, I have Bruno. Planning Son to Rashford. Is Maddison or Jota to Zaha -4 worth it? I mean, you're getting rid of a double game week player. And yeah, I mean, both Jota... Maddison will start both games, but will he get points? Not too sure. Will Jota start both games or even one of them? Not too sure about that. I think it's worth it, though. I think it's worth it. Taking the hit for Zaha, he could outperform Jota over the next 2 game weeks, but ultimately, I'm not too confident on any of them. Maddison, Jota, or Zaha. Lingard to Ward-Prowse or Cody to Coleman? Yeah, Cody to Coleman looks much better for me. Donut Chapower. I think next week on wildcard could be better, as I made a wildcard draft and my squad value is 100.2.1. Yeah, I'd go for Cody to Coleman and yeah, wildcard next week. Hey mate, hope you're well. Thank you FPL Wolf. Really appreciate it. A nice name. Ward-Prowse versus Eze. Out of those 2, I'd prefer Ward-Prowse, but ultimately I'm not too confident in either of them. Zaha plus Vardy plus Greenwood or Alba plus Benteke Rashford. Definitely the first set of players. Zaha, Vardy and Greenwood look much better. I could take out Cancelo instead also. Yeah, that would make sense as well. But yeah, will he start? I mean, there's too many headaches with Manchester City assets right now. But yeah, him or Cody, not much difference. They're both not going to offer too much, you would think. But yeah, who would I sell Lingard for? I mean, Probably Greenwood if you can stretch to him, or Zaha. I wouldn't really advocate for too many of the other options around 5, 6 or 7 million. Is a -8 okay to use in this game week? Definitely. I mean, I'm potentially using a -8 next week, but this week I'll probably just suffice with the 2 free transfers. But yeah, I think a -8 is calm, depending on who you bring in, obviously. What would you say about Cavani in for Bamford and Zaha in for Jota? I like those moves, but with Cavani, just too much kind of rotation risk, and I do prefer Greenwood and Bruno Fernandes from the attack, but still a good option. Don't have Bruno Fernandes. Whom should I captain, Salah or Zaha? I'd captain Salah, Nigel, but if you are chasing, you could maybe go for a Zaha or a Greenwood if you have him, but Salah would be my choice. Jota, Rudiger, Cody out for Ward-Prowse, Digne and Lindelof, -8. Yeah, they look like decent moves, but I'll be honest, just getting rid of Rudiger, for example, who could potentially keep 2 clean sheets, although I'll probably see 1. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that, but yeah, look like good moves. Keep Jota. Yeah, I already answered that. Don't repeat the question because I will put people on timeout. You reckon Rob Holding will start? I'll be honest, I'm not too sure, and either way, I would start. If I was Arteta, I would start Gabriel and David Luiz, or Gabriel and Callum Chambers at centre-back. So I don't think he's going to start both games. And Son to Rashford or Son to Greenwood, I would go for Greenwood. Which defender to replace Diaz? 26 in mind, or 36, I'm guessing you're saying. If you don't have Digne already, I'd go for Digne. I think he's the standout. I got Keane. Should I replace with Coleman or Digne? If you can stretch to him, go for Digne. He's more nailed. Coleman could have his minutes managed. And also, Digne has more assist potential and bonus potential. Should I go from a -8 to a -12 for Greenwood taking out Son? You could do that and then next week do a free transfer and do the reverse or something similar. But ultimately, that's up to you. Do you think Greenwood will start at least 2 of them? And do you think he's going to significantly outscore Son to justify that extra -4? If you think yes, then go for it. Do you have a free hit team? I do not. But I could make one later on for those who are obviously planning on doing it. Am I crazy for not going with Salah? Not convinced by Liverpool at Anfield just yet. They haven't scored 3 goals at Anfield since game week 11, and really not convinced by double attack plus Trent. I mean, that's the thing. You already have triple Liverpool, so captaining Salah is in essence having 4 Liverpool players. They haven't shown enough form at home to really justify that. And if you have someone like Bruno Fernandes, who has a triple game week and could easily start to break his own kind of duck in form, then yeah, it is risky to go with Salah. But I completely get your logic with it. I arguably could even vice-captain someone else, but yeah, Salah's always a good option to captain, but ultimately I think Bruno's better. Who should I captain between Rashford or Greenwood? I'd go for Greenwood, personally. Should I use the triple captaincy this week? I probably would. If I had the triple captaincy this week, even if I had all my chips available, I'd be using the triple captaincy this week on Bruno Fernandes. Who should I captain between? Yeah, already answered that question. No need to spam the chat, otherwise you'll be put on timeout. Is selling Son and Azpilicueta for Salah and Konsa a good move in your opinion? Selling Son for Salah, yes, but Azpilicueta for Konsa, not for me. But obviously I get it, it funds the move, but I wouldn't do that. Harry Mcguire, triple captain. I mean, I wouldn't advocate that, but fair play, and good luck if you do it. Double game week players to replace Rafinha, already have Greenwood. Zaha, probably, if you can stretch to him. I wouldn't really look at too many of the other options around 6, 7, 5 million. I'm just not interested. Captain Zaha or Calvert-Lewin? I'd be tempted by Zaha out of those two. Fernandes is showing as injured. Let's see. I mean, on FPL, I'm pretty sure he isn't. Yeah, I've seen a lot of rumours on Twitter or stuff like that he's injured. I think it's fake. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had a press conference today. He was perfectly fine. Ward-Prowse or Kane? Definitely Kane. Triple captain Rashford or Bruno? I'd go for Bruno Fernandes. Everton defender except Digne? I'd go for Coleman. Kane or Lingard? Whom to start? I'd start Kane. Is a -12 too much moves already made? For me personally, -12, you're bordering on excessive there. But obviously, if you're getting triple game week players in and double game week players for people who only have 1 game week or are kind of rotation risks, then it's kind of fair enough. But I wouldn't go beyond that. Definitely not. Yeah, don't spam the chat, otherwise you'll be put on timeout. Should I replace Cody? If yes, with who? Already have Digne, Arnold, Christensen and Rudiger. That's a tough one. I'd probably be looking at Man United defender who has a triple game week, and Luke Shaw, Mcguire, Wan-Bissaka, those would be the ones I'm looking at. Greenwood or Rashford? I'd go for Greenwood. Start Ward-Prowse with 2 games or Kane with 1 game. I'd start with Kane. No need to spam the chat, Lil Astro. How many minutes do you think Rashford will play? I think he's going to start 2 games and potentially get at least 30 minutes in another one. But I'm not entirely sure about that. But I'm pretty convinced that a lot of these kind of top tier Man United players, they're going to start at least 2 games and probably get 1 rest. Would you pick Greenwood or Zaha? I'd pick Greenwood. Should I sell Bamford and buy DCL or Watkins? I'd buy DCL out of the 2. Yazid. I'm going Cavani captain. He can score brace in 20 minutes a game. Huge differential. It's worth the risk. Fair enough. And it's similar to Greenwood. Ultimately, I prefer Greenwood and Bruno. But Cavani is a good option. Anas says, seems that you have a big issue next game week. Well, looking into next game week, I'm prepared to take a -4. And I could easily have 10 game week players. So I'm not too bothered about that. I don't have any chips left. So I can't really navigate that without obviously using free transfers and hits. But I think I'm in a good position for Game Week 36. Mcguire or Wan-Bissaka? I'd probably go for Wan-Bissaka, especially with the comments that Ollie made today. Kobe says, only 1 transfer, Saiss to Digne. I think that looks perfectly fine. I think Wolves assets, they're done for the season. Lingard, Jota, Maddison, Son out for Ward-Prowse or anyone else under 8.8. Under 8.8 million, yeah, I'd be looking at Zaha or Greenwood, and Greenwood would be my choice. Yeah, Eric, as I said before, a -12 in my opinion is too much. But if you've already made it, then it's done. But just don't go beyond that. Welcome, Antoine. Thank you for joining in. Dylan, do you think Keane and Ward-Prowse will play both games? With Keane, I think he will play at least 1 game, but I don't know if he's going to play both. Ward-Prowse, or is that Joel Ward? Not too sure about him, to be honest. I couldn't tell you. Play Holding or Lingard? I'd play Lingard. Should I start Forster or McCarthy? Forster, and it doesn't matter anyway, because if not, they'll be substituted. Hasenhüttl came out and said their policy, and Forster's going to start the next 2 games, according to him. So if he backtracks on that, don't shoot the messenger. But Forster should start both games in 35, and in 36, McCarthy will start against Fulham. Son and Rafinha to Greenwood and Zaha look like good moves. I'd go for them. Should I bring in Mcguire for Aspie and Zaha for Jota or Rashford? I wouldn't get rid of Rashford. So, yeah, get Zaha for Jota probably. And I wouldn't really get rid of Azpilicueta, to be honest. That's my opinion on it. Not this week, anyway. Kane or Lingard? Already said that. No need to spam the chat. Should I bring in Mcguire or Shaw for Aspie? Yeah, already answered that question. Start Son or Watkins? I'd start Watkins, probably. -16? No, not for me, Eric, as I said before. Should I buy Watkins and sell Bamford? I wouldn't do that. If anything, maybe get DCL, but I'm not that confident in Watkins and Aston Villa to get rid of Bamford and get Watkins when Bamford has great fixtures after Game Week 35. Using the free hit this game week, should I double up on Trent and Robertson or Digne and Trent? I prefer Digne and Trent. Zaha or Pulisic? I prefer Zaha. Jota, Mane or Aubameyang? Jota. Hi there, should I keep Maddison and Mount or rid of one? And if not, for who? I'd probably get rid of Mount out of those 2. And then going forward in Game Week 36, I'd get rid of Maddison too. And yeah, I'd be looking at Greenwood and Zaha. You could arguably get rid of both of them this week. James Rodriguez seems injured. A viable replacement out of Jota, Sigurdsson and James Ward-Prowse. I mean, out of those 3, I do prefer Jota, but his minutes are just a mystery. So there's always a risk. Is it worth keeping Diaz or Dunk till the end of the season? Not for me. I think they're both... You should get rid of both if you can. I have Pereira, Mount, Salah, Rafinha and Son. Who should I remove for 2 United players? Tough one. I'd probably say Pereira and Mount because Rafinha should be back and he's a good option from 36 to 38. Lindelof for Cody and have 9 men plus Davis next week, or play Kane this week and have 10 men plus Cody next week. I'd go for Lindelof for Cody. I took a -12, but I'm using my bench boost. Is it okay? Well, it's going to be very difficult to make up those points, but it's possible. But yeah, for me, on a bench boost, I would mainly be looking at -8 as my limit. But that's just me personally. A -12, it can still pay off and you can still get more points out of it. But ultimately, you're obviously going to set yourself up for more points to gain. And it's going to be more difficult, but it's already done. Gaiter plus Mcguire or Henderson plus Castagna? I'd probably go for Gaiter, Mcguire. Vidra to Benteke or Adams? I wouldn't do either, but if you had to, I'd go for probably Che Adams. Hi Dylan, will cover Son or Kane for next week or for the rest of the season. I'm about to sell Kane and no route to bring him back. To cover him, Bale or Son in midfield, definitely. I think it's as simple as that. What I'm going to be doing is looking at how Game Week 35 goes and see how Spurs do against Leeds. And if Bale still impresses, when I do get rid of Bruno, or if I do get rid of him, I'll be bringing in Bale again or Son. We'll see what happens though. Richarlison as a differential or safe option DCL? I just prefer DCL. Not really too keen on Richarlison. Getting Phillips instead of Holding for a -4. Bench boosting. Yep, that makes perfect sense, Raul. Hey Dylan, using bench boost this week? I've already used my bench boost in Game Week 26. If I did have it, I would be using it. You've got Mcguire, Greenwood in for Masuaku. Son is taking another -4 to go. Vidra to Benteke. Silly. It's not silly. I mean, you are on a bench boost as well. But yeah, if it's going to make it difficult to get Antonio and Dallas who you want later, I just leave it and use the bench boost this week, Maelstrom. I'm thinking of a -16. I'll be having 3 United players and 2 Liverpool and 2 Palace players. I mean, fair enough. Okay, this is kind of a different game week for most because it's a triple game week for Manchester United. So a -12 hit does make sense, but it is still borderline excessive. But yeah, -16, I still think that's too much, even if it's a triple game week for United. Is Armstrong from Southampton a good option? Not for me. Any chance James Rodriguez plays both the matches? He is an injury doubt, so I think it's going to be lucky if he plays one. Ancelotti said today that he didn't train, so my suspicion would be that he's going to miss the first game at least. Should I keep or sell one of Maddison or Mount? I already answered that question, Eddie. DCL for Watkins? I mean, if you already have Watkins, I wouldn't be looking to sell, but if you have nothing else to do, then yeah, I do prefer DCL, Ismail. Yeah, Islam, I said DCL is better than Watkins. Start which 4 from Son, Bale, Kane, Wood, Lingard? I'd be looking to bench Wood probably. But, I mean, triple Spurs attack is excessive, to be fair. But I wouldn't be able to tell you which one to bench. Hello, how are you, Dylan? Is Bruno essential? And would you take a -4, -8 for him? I think for this game week, he is borderline essential. I wouldn't want to go this game week without him. And I would take a -4. Yeah, I would. I already have Bruno and Shaw. Should I get Mcguire or Greenwood? I'd go for Greenwood, Super Saud. Alonso for Digne? Yeah, I think get Digne in for Alonso. Fofana to Mcguire for a -4? I wouldn't do that because Fofana does have a double game week himself. And then after that, you can just get rid of him for another defender for the rest of the season like Soufal. Is it okay to get Cavani in for Kane this week? It is okay, and he can do very well. But yeah, going forward, yeah, I wouldn't really want to have Cavani afterwards. But yeah, he could be a decent option. KDB out for Son, Bale to the end for a hit. I mean, for this game week, I'd be looking to bring in a Greenwood or a Zaha or even a Rashford. But Son or Bale are going to be a better option than KDB until the rest of the season. Will Leno start? Who should I bring in for him? Gaiter or Meslier? With Leno, I just get rid of him. And season keeper, Meslier is a better option. But I think Gaiter has the better fixtures over the next 2. So Game Week 35 and 36. But yeah, Meslier is a good season keeper. Would you start Konsa or Holding before Son? They both have double fixtures and Son has a single. I'd still start Son and then it'd be Konsa and then it'd be Holding. Should I bench boost Mendy, Phillips, Fofana, Azpilicueta, Maddison, Salah, Son, Jota, Kane, Iheanacho, Watkins, Forster, Lingard, Cody, Dunk? I mean, yeah, I would probably still bench boost. Not completely convinced by that because Cody and Dunk. But yeah, I would bench boost. Will Smith Rowe play 2 games? Hopefully he plays against Leicester. I don't think he's going to play both games. I'm not too sure about that, but he's going to start at least one of them. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. Hi Dylan, is Vidra nailed for the rest of the season? Not necessarily. I think there's going to be an occasion or 2 where he's going to be benched or come on as a substitute. Triple captain Salah, Bruno or Greenwood? I'd go for Bruno. Do you think Holding's going to play? I think he's going to play one of them, but not both games, and he's just get rid of him in my opinion. Will Leno start? Already said that. Don't spam the chat. Lingard or Rafinha out for Zaha? That's very tough. I'd probably say Rafinha still, but that's very tough. Basically, Lindelof has to outscore Kane by as much as Cody plus my transfer in 36 for it to be worth it. Reckon he only plays 2 and they could be the hard games, unsure. Yeah, that's the kind of problem with this. There's a lot of kind of stipulations and scenarios that could come to play. But yeah. -8 this game week, -4 next game week. Is it too much? Not necessarily, because a lot of people are taking -12 this week. They may benefit, and then next week they're not taking a hit, and it's the same as what you're doing across 2 game weeks. I'm potentially taking a -8 next week. It's all about timing as well, and when are you going to use these players? You don't have to take the hits now, but yeah, I think it's fine. But just obviously be careful of the hits. You're going to obviously be setting yourself up for a lot of points to gain up in the rankings, because some people, a kind of differential in itself is they're going to be playing chips and avoiding hits, and that's already going to bring them up the ranks already without even a ball being kicked throughout the weekend. Anandu says Robertson, Trent, Mcguire, Castagna, or Digne, Trent, Mcguire, Castagna. I'd go for the second set of players probably. Cheers, Dylan. I just feel Vidra is in danger because Jay Rodriguez looked better as a substitute and Barnes is back. Benteke seems solid for at least 2 appearances. Yeah, fair enough. And you could just take the hit. But the reason why I said no is because something you said in your message was about it making it difficult to get Antonio or Dallas in later on. And I don't like it when you make a transfer which is really just for 1 week, and then going forward the other moves you actually wanted to make and that will be good for the rest of the season, you're not going to be able to make it. Will Henderson play all 3? I'm not sure, to be honest, because the hair could be rewarded, so I'm not completely sure about that. I think he'll start 2 of them, but I'm not sure about all 3. Will Smith Rowe play against West Brom and Chelsea? I'm not sure about that, to be honest, with Smith Rowe. I think over the next... So let's look at this. Yeah, I look at it and I'll say yeah. I think he's going to start both, but I couldn't tell you for sure. And Arteta's just a headache, so I'm trying to guess him is just impossible. What do you think about captaining Greenwood or Nacho? I'd probably, yeah, I think they're both good options. I would go for Nacho, but Greenwood's a good option. Is tripling on Man United essential? No, but I would go for at least double. Do you think Mcguire will play the 3 games and Henderson? Well, based on Ollie's comments, I think Mcguire will play 2 and he might actually finally get a rest. And as for Henderson, I think he'll play 2 as well, but I'm not sure about 3. Greenwood or Bruno captain? Bruno, already said that, Pankaj. Will Holding start both games? Not in my opinion. Wood to Calvert-Lewin for a -4? Yeah, I'd go for that. Maybe Che over Benteke is better, like the other guy suggested. Yeah, I think Che Adams is better. And I think I did say it before as well. Have you sold Son? I did sell Son to get in Greenwood, and I might get him back in game week 36, if not Gareth Bale. Start Rudiger, Target, or Holding? I'd start Rudiger. What to do with Leno? If transfer out, who do I replace him with? I'd get rid of Leno, and I'd look to get in Meslier if you're looking for a season keeper. If you're looking for someone for the double and 36, then maybe go for Gaiter. But yeah, I'd mainly be looking at those sorts of options. Which midfielders around 5 million are a good option? I'll be honest, I'm not really keen on any of them. Probably still Rafinha, mainly looking at 36 to 38, but other than that, maybe a Ward-Prowse, but he's around 6-ish. But yeah, I'm not really too keen on the midfielders around that price. I think you can easily get 150 points. I hope you're right, Fred Jones, but I'll be honest, I'm not that confident in 150 points. Whenever I think I could get a big score like that, or 120, it doesn't always turn out like that, but we'll see. And good luck to you as well this week. Captain Greenwood, yeah, I think that's a good option, but I'm not going for that. Why not Zaha? Because I had an option between him and Greenwood, and I went for Greenwood. I like the triple game week, and I also like Greenwood's form, and I don't trust Crystal Palace offensively. Triple captain Bruno or Greenwood? Bruno for me, same as the captaincy. I have Leno with a double game week. Should I take him out? And if so, for who? Or can I keep him and try focus on transfers on United assets or Zaha? Yeah, I'd look to focus your transfers on other aspects of your team. But going forward, I would look to get rid of Leno. I just think Arsenal defence is awful. And he could be rotated for Ryan. Kevin, so hey Dylan, sorry I didn't get what you said about the best 5.4 and under defender, barring United. I'd just say Coleman really, and that's if you don't have him already. Hi Dylan, Robbo or Digne, free hit? I'd go for Digne, especially if you already have Trent. Do you think Zaha will outscore Greenwood over the next 3 games each, including Zaha next week and just got Greenwood this week? If so, they may go for Zaha for extra play in 36. I think over the next 3, I think Zaha will outscore Greenwood, but that's only because Greenwood misses out on Gameweek 36. But even at the end of the day, they have pretty much the same amount of fixtures. But I went for Greenwood just because it's mainly just for this week, and ultimately I'm prepared to get rid of Bruno potentially in Gameweek 36, and I'm not too keen on Crystal Palace attack, but I think Zaha over the next 3 could outscore him, or at least the next 2, I'll say. If you factor in Gameweek 37 when Man United play Fulham, that's when Greenwood could tip the balance in his favour. Aubameyang a good option? No, not for me. No Arsenal player is. I prefer Nacho to Salah. There's a lot of preference in this week's captaincy choices, in my opinion. Yeah, fair enough. I completely understand that he's got the better form, and Leicester City just offer more in attack than Liverpool at the moment. And I might even change the vice captaincy to Nacho. I originally had it on him, and when the double got announced for Salah and Liverpool, that's when I changed it, but not really that confident in him. Doesn't matter anyway, because Bruno will start in one of the 3. It'd be very shocking if he doesn't. Good point. Better not to get caught up in double game week, triple game week. Thanks for being on Voice of Reason. Thank you, Maelstrom. I mean, there is an argument to be made about, stacking your team up with double or triple game week players. But the reason why I have 11 who have a double is because of free transfers and also just planning from before, and also being lucky with the triple game week coming in and also the double for Liverpool. But ultimately, yeah, I just think try to be cautious as well. Don't just go all in. El Ghazi for the double is 5.2. No, yeah, he's a good option, and around 5 million, he's one of the better ones. I ultimately wouldn't go for him myself, but if you only have around 5-ish or 6 million, then yeah, he's one of the better options around, but I wouldn't go for it myself. Set piece for Palace, yeah, could do. Watkins plus Castagna or DCL plus Coleman? I'd go for DCL and Coleman. Start one of Dallas, Konsa and Soufal. I'd start Konsa. Will Holding start versus West Brom? I'm not entirely sure. The point I'm making is that I'm not sure if Holding will start both games in the double game week. Will he start against West Brom? I'm not sure. Ask Arteta. I mean, that guy is just... Holding shouldn't start. That's my opinion on it. Greenwood or Iheanacho for vice captaincy? I'd go for Iheanacho. Maddison for Zaha? Yeah, I would make that move. That's if you have nothing else to do, because that's a bit of a luxury transfer to make. Play Forster or Lloris? I'd probably play Forster. Is Zaha guaranteed to start both? I think he is, and Roy Hodgson said there's no injury. Well, he didn't mention Zaha's injury when talking about the list of kind of concerns and doubts he has. So that's something to think about. Start Holding or Dunk? I guess I'd start Holding, but I'm not really sure about Arsenal. Is Mcguire essential? No, he isn't. And Ollie did say today that he might not, or he might be benched, because it's impossible to play 3 games in 5 days. Am I the only one who doesn't have any Man United players? No United players, wow. Great stream as always. Thanks for the tip about my channel last stream. No problem, FPL Anima. And in that case, I would try to have at least 1 or 2 United players, but I wouldn't take massive hits and go gung-ho on multiple United players. I wouldn't do that. But yeah, I think try to have at least 1 or 2 if possible. Got rid of Bruno to Jota and Smith Rowe to Zaha. Brought Bruno back for Son. Took a -8 when -4 would have sufficed. Never make early transfer, boys. Yeah, I mean, I literally made these transfers today, getting in Greenwood and Digne. And to be honest, something that I've done a lot this season is making early transfers, and it's cost me, and it's forced me into taking hits like it did for you. So yeah, I think going forward, one thing I will say is forget about team value and all of that. Just focus on just waiting, seeing all the news, and then making informed decisions. Castagna or Digne for free hit? Tough one. I probably would still say Digne, but yeah, Castagna's still a good option. He's more likely to get a clean sheet, if anything, to be fair. My team is Mendy, Forster, Castagna, Shaw, Trent, Cedric, Sanchez, Salah, Rashford, Jota, Greenwood, Lingard, Iheanacho, Kane, Vidra. What to do? 0.1 million in the bank and bench boost. I mean, is that Cedric Suarez from Arsenal? He's not even getting a look in. I'm not too sure about that team. I mean, in terms of some of the players, they like Vidra and Sanchez and stuff like that. But yeah, this is a good week to bench boost, I think. Is it worth free transfer Greenwood for Son? I think it is, yeah. And that's what I did this week. If you pick a United player and he only plays 2 versus an Everton player who plays 2 and he has Sheffield and 36, isn't the Everton player better, really? Yeah, but what I would say for that is if you're looking in the midfield, I prefer Greenwood and Bruno, even if they only have 2 fixtures compared to Sigurdsson, who has 3. I prefer those 2. If you look at the attack, I would maybe prefer DCL over Cavani and all the other options. And in the defence, I think Digne is probably a better option than most United, considering the rotation that could happen and the blank in 36. So I completely get that. I agree with you. But in the midfield, I think United assets offer better value, even with only 2 games, if they obviously only play 2 games. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Ward-Prowse or Zaha? Yeah, Zaha for me, definitely. Will Holding rest after the Europa League? I'm not sure, and to be honest, he shouldn't be in the starting lineup, but yeah, he could be benched against West Brom and then saved for the Chelsea game because Arteta just rates him for some reason. I got no chips, Kane out, DCL in. Worth it? I already have Nacho and Watkins. Yeah, I think it's worth it, and you could always bring Kane back in if you can, and if not, maybe a Spurs cover like Bale or Son will be more than enough. Should I get Alba? You already asked me this, Arsene Wenger, and I said no because Arsenal are awful. Start Forster or Leno? Tough one. I probably would start Leno, but there's if he gets benched against West Brom, then that's going to be just awful for you because I don't see a clean sheet against Chelsea. Wan-Bissaka, yeah, he's a good option this week, and to be honest, he might secretly be the most nailed Manchester United asset this week. Mcguire might get a rest with Bailly and Lindelof, that kind of trio in centre-back. They might rotate between themselves, but with Wan-Bissaka, his understudy is Brandon Williams, and there's a big gulf in quality there. Kane, Smith-Rowe and Cody out for DCL, Zaha and Digne. What do you think? I think they're great moves, Madeline. They're great moves. There's not much more to add there. Yeah, Tommy already answered your question about Greenwood for Son. And I think that's a good one. Masuaku replacement, long-term perspective. I mean, how much do you have in the bank to play with? Because all the other options around that price, pretty poor to be honest. So if you can stretch out, go for a Soufal who's got the assist potential. But yeah, not too many options around that price. Greenwood or Zaha? Greenwood for me, but Zaha is still a good option. And this week and next week, so over that game week 35 and 36 period, he could outscore Greenwood. But I just prefer Greenwood for the rest of the season. Bamford and Son out, Calvert and Greenwood in for a -4. I'd go for it, yeah. Do you think Phillips will start both games? I think so long as he's fit, he will start both games, Moose. Ward-Prowse or Zaha? Zaha for me, and yeah, I answered your question already. Don't spam the chat. Play Target or Kane? I'd play Kane. Take DCL replacing Wood with another minus? Yeah, I'd take a minus hit for that. Hi mate, who should I start, Son or Jota? Tough one. I'd go for Jota, but if he doesn't start against Southampton, then that's going to be... that you could maybe kick yourself there, but I would go for Jota. Bruno, Mcguire, Greenwood. Choose 2. Bruno and Greenwood. Should I get rid of Foden or Lingard? I get rid of Foden because of the rotation and also with the Champions League, obviously. To be fair, the Carabao Cup is done. They're not in the FA Cup. So they can now play their best team and get that rhythm going and the sharpness ready for the Champions League final, but I'd still get rid of Foden. -8 to get in Digne, Shaw, Salah, DCL. I switched Kane to DCL so that I had the funds to get Salah. Is that dumb? Then I plan to use the wildcard next week. It's not dumb, and it makes perfect sense, and they look like good moves, to be honest. Who is the best Man U defender, Shaw, Mcguire, or Wan-Bissaka? Which to get? I still think Shaw's the best, but Wan-Bissaka is going to be the most nailed, in my opinion. And yeah, so it'd be Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, and Mcguire in that order. Bring in Zaha for Jota. If you have nothing else to make... then yeah, but if it's for a hit, then I'd reconsider and probably just keep Jota. Should I remove Bamford and Rafinha for DCL and Smith-Rowe? I wouldn't get Smith-Rowe in. I know it's to fund the move, but I wouldn't do that. But DCL, great move. Play Rudiger or Lingard? I'd play Rudiger, and that's what I'm doing right now. As you can see with my team, I've got Lingard on the bench, and Rudiger is starting. Team Martinez, Konsa, Phillips, Rudiger, Shaw, Salah, Jota, Bruno, Zaha, Watkins, Iheanacho, Subs, Johnston, Keane, or should I say Kane, Dallas, Lingard. Thoughts? You could arguably start Kane over one of those players, like maybe a Konsa or a Phillips. I would probably start Kane over Konsa. That's what I would do. But then again, wait, so you've already got 4 defenders. Yeah, I'd do that. But the rest looks fine. No problem, Madeline. I think United go 5 at the back versus Leicester and rest key players. Go for a boring match. Priority there is not losing. Don't need a win. Yeah, I completely understand that logic. And and it conserves energy, and they need it for the Europa League. So yeah, to be honest, I completely see that happening, and they could be very conservative over the next 3. I think they might go a bit all out against Villa, maybe rest against Leicester, and then be conservative against Liverpool. Rashford, Lingard, Jota, Salah and Greenwood. Who to bring Zaha in for? Out of those that you mentioned, probably Lingard, and if not, Jota. No problem, Jayham. Son, Trossard, Saiss out to Greenwood, Zaha, Wan-Bissaka. Looks like great moves, Mohamed. I'd go for that. Ward-Prowse or Smith-Rowe? In that case, I'd go for Ward-Prowse, but I don't like either of them. Yeah, I do all my benches as follows. It's on screen. Shaw or Mcguire? I'd go for Shaw still. Is having both Meslier and Dallas too risky for the long term? I wouldn't say it's too risky, but I think one's enough. So, is this triple game week means that just double game week? I don't see any nailed Man United player then. I'd probably say so, yeah. There might be 1 or 2 players like a Wan-Bissaka who get a triple game week, but it's very difficult to foresee that, and they might have their minutes managed within the games. So even if they do start all 3, they might not complete the 60 minutes in each one to get the points you want. Would you start Kane or DCL? Surely it's DCL. Yeah, I would start DCL in that case. Play target, Jota or Kane? I'd play Kane, to be honest. I'd play Kane. Bring in Shaw or Wan-Bissaka for Fofana or Aspie. I'd probably still go for Shaw, but Wan-Bissaka is more nailed, so bear that in mind. And yeah, I'd probably bring them in for Fofana. DCL for Kane -4, worth it? I think it could be. Also considering game week 36. Yeah. Dylan, would you go for Shaw, Mcguire? As I said before, Mosh, I'd go for Shaw. Best 5 million defender this game week and for the future? Seamus Coleman probably. Up until game week 37, great fixtures. I can hear the contempt in your voice when you talk about Arsenal. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not really surprised by yesterday's performance, and the less said about it, the better. And deservedly out. Hit the post twice, and then you bring that player off, and the player who also had a chance in the first leg, the only chance we really had apart from the penalty, he gets taken off with 10 minutes to go. Just baffling. Captain 1, Zaha, Greenwood, Rashford, Nacho, Salah. Tough one. And by the way, I'm going to be changing the vice captaincy to Nacho. But to be fair with Salah, he does have a great record against Southampton. It's a tough one. There's not much to split all of them. Ultimately, what I would probably do is captain Salah. And if not, maybe go for Greenwood or Iheanacho. I think those would be the top 3 from those you listed. I think, yeah, Iheanacho and Salah would be the kind of top pick, and then it'd be Greenwood. I mean, what does it make a difference? Bruno's going to be captain anyway, so yeah, it doesn't really matter who's vice captain for me. Who is more likely to play both matches, Phillips from Liverpool or Rudiger? I think Rudiger. They want to secure the top 4, and they also have a higher chance of keeping 1 clean sheet. Gaiter for McCarthy -4, worth it? I probably would say yeah, because McCarthy's not going to start over the next 2 in Game Week 35. Diaz for Digne, Zaha for Son, Greenwood for Trossard for a -4, worth it? Yeah, getting Digne, Zaha and Greenwood in for those 3 definitely makes sense, yeah. Who is the most nailed Everton defender, Godfrey or Holgate? Can't afford Digne. I'd say Godfrey. And after that, then possibly Holgate. But I just don't like the fact he gets too many yellow cards. I think Godfrey deserves to stay in the starting lineup. Captain Salah or Greenwood? I'd go for Salah, but not much in that. Antonio over Watkins and DCL to the end of the season? Yeah, from now until the end of the season, I go for Antonio. But if you have DCL Watkins right now, keep them for this game week and then get rid of them. And in DCL's case, probably in 37, because 36 against Sheffield United could be very good for him. Vidra, Son to DCL, Zaha or Kane, ECR, Masuaku to DCL, Zaha, Wan-Bissaka. Tough one. I probably would go for the first set of transfers, Lalu. Alisson or Gaiter. For the next 2, I'd go for Gaiter. Rashford or Greenwood, Greenwood. Henderson or Gaiter. Probably Gaiter. You want to have the United assets in defence, midfield. Yeah, so like a Greenwood, Bruno, and then you want maybe a Wan-Bissaka or a Shaw in defence. Yeah, I know. I told you to start Kane. I would prefer to start Kane. I mean, if he has a big haul in him against Leeds, which he did last time out, I mean, you might end up regretting. It's up to you. Ultimately, back your gut. I would prefer Kane, especially when you already have Aston Villa cover in defence. Do you think it's worth using bench boost, having Johnston, Welbeck, Cancelo, Dallas this week? There's a chance that Cancelo doesn't play, I'll be honest with you. Dallas, he could actually nick something against Tottenham. He tends to do it against the bigger sides, although I don't think you can class Tottenham as that. But I'm not too sure about that bench boost. But then again, you might not have another chance to play it. So, yeah. I'm not too confident about the bench boost, I'll be honest. But, yeah, it could still be worth it. Assuming Bruno does not play against Villa, who would you captain, Salah or Bruno? I'd still captain Bruno, to be honest. Take out Rudiger or Cody for Mcguire. I'd take out Cody and keep Rudiger in your starting lineup, probably. Is having only Shaw and Greenwood from United okay if I get Zaha as well, but only Kane from Spurs and triple Liverpool? It's okay, but ultimately, yeah, going without Bruno this week could be very costly, especially with the effective ownership, which could ultimately be over 200%. But, yeah, I think double's enough, but just be wary of Bruno. Is Zaha playing for an injury? Has he been training? I think he has. Roy Hodgson reported no injury concerns in terms of Zaha. He was mentioning other kind of injuries they had. Didn't say anything about Zaha. Differential this game week? Good question. I think Cavani. Cavani and a Greenwood, who's still owned by less than 10% of the game. I think they would be the kind of ones I'd be looking at. But Cavani definitely the ultimate differential potentially. A high Dylan bench 2 out of Coleman, Rudiger, Fofana and Lingard. Tough. Lingard would be benched and I probably would bench Fofana. Thoughts on Havertz for the rest of the season? I think the good thing about him is that when he starts, I think he has the capability of a double-digit haul, but there's going to be 1 or 2 benchings in between, so be prepared for that. But I think there could be certain weeks where it might be low scoring for most people, but you have a Kai Havertz and he shoots you up the ranks. So I think he's a decent option, but he's going to be a rotation risk. Is there another good chance for a triple captaincy apart from this game week? Probably Salah, game week 38 against Palace. Other than that, there's not really going to be any other double game weeks to think about. You holding Lingard for the rest of the season? Says Kurt. Great question. I'll be honest, I'm not too sure about that. I'll wait and see. But he's someone that could be eliminated. But I look at my other kind of moves that I'm looking at. And Shaw could make way. Nacho can make way. Bruno Fernandes and also Mendy because of my goalkeeper situation. So I might not be able to make the transfer. Thank you, Lalu. And good luck with this game week. Kane and Lingard or DCL and Bruno? For this game week, DCL and Bruno for sure. Sigurdsson or Zaha? Zaha for me. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate the comment. Start Mount or Son this game week? I would start Son still. But that's just me. I mean, I know a lot of people would say Mount. Best captaincy options aside from Man United players? Salah, Iheanacho. Potentially Vardy, but I wouldn't go there. I think Salah or Iheanacho for me. Went on the transfer planner and the decision is hypothetically down to this if I make said transfers. Oh, I think that's Wood. Yeah, Wood now, then Cody Lingard in 36, or Zaha now, and Greenwood. Greenwood now, then Cody Lingard in 36, or Zaha now, and Zaha and Dallas in 36. Both have hits in 36. Yeah. Yeah, I would go for the first one. I get Greenwood in now. Son, Kane and Jota out for Salah, Bruno, Greenwood, triple captain and Calvert-Lewin -8. Or should I go Jota and Son out for Salah and Bruno, Greenwood, triple captain for a -4? Jesus, let me try process this. I had triple captain Bruno, by the way, and yeah, I'll go for the second option probably. Michael. Still have the triple captaincy chip. Bruno, good option? I think so. If I had the triple captaincy, I'd be using it now on Bruno. Start Soufal or Dallas? I would start Soufal. Are Chelsea midfielders a good choice this week? They are decent, but ultimately I think there are better options elsewhere. And on a free hit, I would mainly be looking at Chelsea's defence rather than midfield. Pulisic instead of Rashford? I'd prefer Rashford. Henderson, any thoughts? He could either start all 3 games or maybe be benched in 1 or 2 of them because De Gea is rewarded for his great performance yesterday for Manchester United. So not sure about that. But I think if Oli just keeps things as they are and De Gea just plays in the Europa and Henderson plays in Premier League, then he's a good option. Start Mount or Jota? I would start Jota. Salah or Rashford? Given that United have 3 fixtures and he's rested and May Hall, I'd go for Salah still. Did Hodgson speak about Zaha? Yeah, as I said before. So he didn't allude to him as such, but when they talked about injuries, he didn't mention Zaha as a concern. So he should be fine. Cheers, mate. My free hit team: Gaiter, Trent, Shaw, Robertson, Castagna, Zaha, Bruno, Salah, Greenwood, Vardy, Nacho. Please share your thoughts. Should I bring Digne or DCL? Good luck with your game week. Thank you. And likewise, Anandu. Tough one. I mean, who would you be bringing out for Digne and also for DCL? But I probably would say Digne, especially if you have to get rid of Vardy or Nacho to get DCL. Who should I captain, Greenwood or Salah? I would go for Salah, but Greenwood's a good option and he's more of a differential, so in that case, he might be a bit more appealing to you. Kane, Lingard to DCL, Zaha. I think those are good moves for this game week, yeah. Rashford or Vardy? I have Bruno, Greenwood and Nacho. Well, you already have double United attack, but I probably would still say Rashford. How nailed is Zaha to start? If he's fit, he's going to start both games, no doubt about it. And he should be fit because Roy Hodgson didn't mention anything about an injury to him. Is Ward a decent defensive option from Palace? Possibly better value than Godfrey. I think he's a good option if he starts, but is he definitely going to start with Klein coming back? I couldn't tell you for sure, but he's a decent option if he starts for sure. Son, Bamford, Diaz to bring Cavani, Greenwood and United defender from -8. Is it worth it? I think it's worth it, yeah. Should I get Mahrez or Jota? I'd get Jota over Mahrez. Thank you, Jeham. Thoughts on this team? Mendy, Castagna, Shaw, Rudiger, Bruno, Rashford, Jota, Son, Mount, DCL, Nacho. Looks like a solid team. I'm not completely sure about Mount, but the rest looks very good. I've pulled out Bamford for Eze. What do you think? Says Nabil. I'm not a big fan of Eze FPL-wise. He's a great player, or should I say a very talented young player. But yeah, I mean, I would rather have Bamford. McCarthy or Forster? I already said this before. Forster is going to start both games in 35, and McCarthy is going to start in 36, so I would rather have Forster. I have Rashford. Should I get Zaha or Greenwood? I would go for Greenwood. Bamford out or nah? If so, who? Well, he's only got 1 goal in his last 9 appearances, I believe. And if you got rid of him, I would probably go for DCL. Or Cavani if you want. Hi mate, Greenwood, Zaha, Schmeichel or Rashford, Godfrey, Gaiter. I'd rather go for the first set of transfers. Tyreek Mitchell or Lingard to start this week. I would still go for Lingard. Okay, I'm set on Greenwood now after my plans and your help. Sorry for bugging you with it. I'm definitely overthinking it. Still have 1 free transfer, might roll. Main weak points are Holding, Mendy, Jota, Kane just this week. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's very important to put a lot of thought into this because you could make transfers now that look really good. Like, for example, I could have, instead of getting Digne, I could have gone for Mcguire as well or something like that. And instead of Greenwood, I could have gone for Zaha or something like that. And in 36, I would have been affected and I would only have 2 defenders who actually play in 36. So it's very important to go through it. So thank you for your comment, Marco. Is it worth bringing DCL in for any of Watkins, Iheanacho and Vardy? Maybe for Vardy if it funds another move like bringing Bruno back in. But otherwise, you know, you don't have to. But I would rather have DCL than Watkins and Vardy. I'm going to captain Zaha. Fair enough, Lamb, Calvin. And could be a very good differential captaincy. Ask him for a friend. 1 free transfer to bring in Greenwood for Jota or -4 to get in Bruno through selling Vardy. I take a -4 to get Bruno in. Who to bench, Son or Wood? And is Mcguire a must? I would bench Wood. And Mcguire isn't a must, especially if you already have Shaw or Wan-Bissaka. No problem, Angus. Digne and Zaha in for Cody and Lingard. I think they're good moves, and I probably would go ahead. In the same money range as Bamford, don't have cash to spare other than 0.1 million in the bank. Well, in that case, what you could do is move him on to Antonio, and even though it's not a great move this week, going forward, I think Antonio is probably the one I'm looking to get in my own team. So, yeah, I think Bamford to Antonio could be worth it. Worth bringing in Zaha for Lingard? I think so, Nadir. Should I get Mcguire for Dunk? I would go for that, especially if you don't have United cover in defence already. If I transfer out Kane this week, is he worth bringing in after the double game week for the remaining fixtures this season? It is still worth to bring him back in, but I'd also wait and see how he does in 35 against Leeds, because if Bale and Son continue to be the main threats, under Ryan Mason, then there is no need to bring him back in. So I would evaluate and then reassess after game week 35. Start Holding or Mitchell. I probably would still go for Holding, but yeah, I mean, maybe being a bit foolish there. Spurs defender or Leeds defender? Definitely Leeds defender. Dallas would be my pick. And if not, Meslier as cover in goal from 36-38. Start Watkins or Son? I'd go for Watkins, Jay. And thank you everyone who is watching, should I say. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and smash the like button, all that good stuff. Hit notifications so you know when I do my next deadline streams for UCL Fantasy and FPL, and also just team selection videos and all this sort of stuff. So really appreciate it, and more videos to come as well, not just FPL in the future. So just get on with the smashing of the like button, and I'll obviously be entertaining any last questions or comments. We still have around 70 people, really appreciate it, and 15 minutes left for the deadline. Who to bench, Saka or Wood? I'd bench Saka. Sigurdsson and Calvert-Lewin double up? Nah, for me, Calvert-Lewin is enough. Him and Digne is more than enough. I wouldn't go more than that, and I'm not too sure about Sigurdsson. However, sometimes, look, someone may ask me about, oh, should I go for this player? And I say no, and they end up doing very well. It's possible. So if you have a gut feeling about Sigurdsson, go for it. But personally, I think DCL is enough. That's my opinion. Castagna or Digne? If Digne, why? Because he has a better fixture in 36, or should I say he has a fixture. He faces Sheffield United, where he has a good chance of a clean sheet, possibly an attack and return or bonus points. Castagna's going to blank. And Digne, to be fair, in 35, Castagna could outscore Digne, but for the rest of the season, I would back Digne more so. And Castagna has poor fixtures from 37 and 38, should I say. Which Liverpool assets? Yeah, Salah and Trent, and maybe a Robertson. Jota's still a good option, but other than that, I wouldn't really look too much at the other options, if I'm being honest. Which set of transfers is better? Bruno for Son, Ward-Prowse for Trossard, and Mitchell for Diaz, or Greenwood for Son, Zaha for Trossard, and Digne for Diaz? Tough. Probably the second set, but going without Bruno is very, very difficult. Is Cavani a good shout? He is. Don't get me wrong, just because I think Greenwood's a better option, and that's just my personal opinion based on what's been happening in FPL recently, I still think Cavani's a good option. And in terms of a differential, someone asked me this earlier, who is one of the best differentials this week? I think Cavani could be it. And he's been in great form. He is a bit inconsistent in terms of his finishing, but his positioning is unreal. And if Man United actually attack these games, he could be a great differential who can boost you up the ranks. So, good option. Robertson or Castagna? For this game week, Castagna, but overall Robertson's definitely a better shout. Final team till I eventually panic 3 minutes before the deadline. Mendy, Trent, Digne, Holding, Bruno captain, Salah, Jota, Greenwood, Maddison, Nacho, Kane. Rolling a free transfer. Don't think Man United defence worth future hit. Yeah, I completely agree, and that looks like a solid team marker. Is a -4 for Mcguire for Shaw worth it? No, just keep Shaw. They could basically start the same amount of games, and if they do, Shaw has a good chance of outscoring him. Kane, Rudiger out, Mcguire, DCL in, -8. Not for me. I get the logic, and you could get rid of Rudiger next week, but I wouldn't do that. Greenwood or Salah captain? I don't have Bruno. I'd go for Salah, but Greenwood's a good differential, and if you want a differential captain, go for Greenwood or an Nacho. Robertson 4-4-2, Zaha 3-5-2, or DCL 3-4-3. I probably would say DCL, and that's mainly because he has a good fixture in 36 and 37 as well. Don't have a United defender, but want to double up with Trent and Robertson. Reckon it's worth it? I mean, the fixtures are there for Liverpool, but I think Trent is enough. So that's my opinion on it. You're changing your goalkeeper in the future, right? Yep, definitely, as I said before. If not, what I might do is just go in with 10 players in Game Week 36 and only take a -4 and just keep Mendy for the rest of the season. But if not, Meslier could be coming in Game Week 36 for Mendy. Is it a shame not having free Man United players on a free hit? What would you change? Gaiter, Trent, Digne, Castagna, Salah, Bruno, Captain, Greenwood, Zaha, Vardy, DCL, Nacho. That looks like a good team. There's not much I would change, if anything. I mean, you have Bruno captain, so in essence, you do have free United players, and they have a triple game week potentially. They could feature in all three, so that looks good. Bruno, Cavani, Greenwood, good combo. I think it is. Karthik, I think that's a good trio, and definitely worth it. What I will say though is that especially if you're captaining Bruno or someone like that, you might basically be quadrupling up on United attack, which might be a bit excessive, even with a triple game week. My preference is having one defender and 2 attackers, but 3 attackers is fine. Wandering from my last pick, Kane or Son, good luck for you. Well, based on what we've seen under Ryan Mason, I would probably say Son, but don't rule out Kane, and he's on penalties, he's chasing the golden boot, he's the top assister. I wouldn't want to bench Kane. Start Leno or Forster? Probably start Leno, but not really too sure about that. Reguilon to Shaw worth it? I think it is. In order to get Bruno, I need to get a striker under 6.9. Who is the best option, given that I already have Zaha? I'd say Antonio, up until the rest of the season. And he's a good differential. Should I bring in Son from the bench for any of the following players, Mount, Watkins, or Jota? Or should I keep Son on the bench? I probably would start him over Mount, but that's my opinion. Ollie just confirmed that Mcguire won't play all 3 matches. Yeah, this is what I alluded to earlier, and why I've said to people to not take big hits for players like Mcguire, especially if you already have Shaw, because Ollie literally said today that he's played every single minute for Manchester United in the Premier League when he's been available, but he's not going to be able to do it this week. And if he sticks to his word, then Maguire's not going to play all 3 games. Triple Shaw or Bruno? I'd triple captain Bruno. Son and Davis to Zaha and DCL. 2 free transfers. Also, what do you think about Jota's minutes over the next 3? Looks like good moves. I'd go ahead with them. As for Jota's minutes over the next 3, I think he's going to start 2 of them and be benched in 1, which could be the United game. And I'm just not that sure about Jota, to be honest, and I think there are better options. Rudiger, Trent, Shaw, Digne. Who should be my last? No more United players, thank you. Last what? To start? Or to get in? I'm guessing that's to get into your team. I'd probably say Digne. Salah or Greenwood triple captain? I'd go for Salah, but I'm not that convinced by Liverpool or Salah to triple captain him, I'll be honest. Is it worth to -8 for swap Lingard, Alonso to Zaha, Digne? I think it is worth it, yeah. No problem, Karthik. DCL for Kane -4 worth it. I think over the next 2 game weeks it's worth it. So yeah, it might be. Your captaincy and vice captain locked off or not sure? Well, the vice captain, I'll be honest, is kind of. I mean, I might be jinxing it here if I say it, but Bruno should feature, so the vice captaincy is not going to be that important. But the captaincy, yeah, I think is thoroughly locked in. I think Bruno's going to be my captain. No, might even vice captain Greenwood. Why not? But Salah, Nacho, Greenwood. They're all good captaincy options this week. I'm just going for, I'm just going to go for Mr. Bruno. Let's see what he does. And Keane on the bench there, Lingard. That could really backfire. For a -8, Diaz for Digne, Greenwood for Trossard, Bruno for Son, and DCL for Kane. Worth it? Yeah, I think you asked this before, Adil, and I think I said go for it. I've got Ward-Prowse. Is it good? I'll be honest. I mean, he could be a good option this week, but I don't like him as an asset. But good luck to you with that. Jota and Vidra to DCL and Anguissa, 2 free transfers. I mean, they're 2 free transfers, and you're getting DCL, who's going to play both games. Jota might not even do that. I still probably would be unsure about that, to be honest. Salah plus Zaha plus or Rashford plus Zaha, Salah plus Pogba. I'd go for Salah and Zaha. Zaha over Greenwood when talking about next game week as Zaha has a match, and if I get Bruno and already are sure. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's up to you how you think about this and your team situation. But yeah, considering your team, maybe Zaha's the better option, but I still prefer Greenwood. Start Holding or Holgate? I'd start Holgate. Start Havertz or Lingard? I would start Havertz. He might have a double game week, or should I say double digit haul in him, and it could probably come against Arsenal the way it's going. But yeah, that's what I probably would go for. 7 minutes left for the deadline, so let me know if you have anything, any questions at all, or any comments, and I'll be looking into it. As for my own team, remember I made 2 free transfers. Digne came in for Cody, and Greenwood came in for Son. Greenwood is vice captain, but it could easily be Salah or Nacho. It doesn't really make a difference. And Bruno Fernandes is my captain. I am actually playing Kane over Keane. I've already got Everton cover in defence. And the plan is to bring in Keane for Game Week 36 into the starting lineup when Everton host Sheffield United. And Lingard's also on the bench and Vidra. Forster is actually going to play both games, but I'm going with Mendy. I trust Chelsea's defence more, and I probably back a clean sheet there in one of those games, probably against Arsenal. Captain Salah or Greenwood? I probably would go for Salah, but as I always say, if you're going for someone differential, then definitely Greenwood, Salah's going to be heavily captain still. Kane and Sigurdsson or Bruno and Che Adams? Also, will Keane play both games? Well, I wouldn't go without Bruno this week. But looking at it long term, Kane and Sigurdsson's the better duo. Will Holgate keep his place and get 2 starts though? I'll be honest, Alexander, I do not know. I think he will be benched in one of them. They've got everyone back basically, Everton. And apart from Digne, there's no one really that's nailed in that Everton defence. I thought it was Keane, but maybe not. I don't know who to choose, Zaha or Greenwood. I already said that I do. I mean, if it's me, I would go for Greenwood, but because of what you said and your team situation, maybe Zaha is the better option. But yeah, it's a 50-50 call that could go either way. I might end up regretting not going for Zaha, but we'll wait and see. Who would you captain? Salah, Iheanacho and Jota, or Zaha or Son? I would captain Salah, and if not Iheanacho, I would not go for Jota or Zaha. Calvert-Lewin in for Chris Wood, -4. Yep, as I said before, I would go for that. Will Chambers have the minutes? I think he's going to start one game, but not both. And I think he should be starting at centre-back with Gabriel, but he's been playing at right-back, and I don't know. I mean, Arteta's just been very baffling, but I think he will play one game. Not sure about both. And which game is it going to be? I couldn't tell you. Greenwood, Cavani, or Salah for captain? Out of those 3, I'd be tempted by... I mean, Salah would be the kind of no-brainer, the kind of safe one, but someone differential, Greenwood and Cavani look very good, and I'd go for Greenwood. Last call, many thanks for your help. Henderson for Gaiter, Rashford for Vardy, current team, Gaiter, Trent, Digne, Castagna, Salah, Bruno, Greenwood, Zaha, Vardy, DCL, Iheanacho. It's risky, it's very risky. Vardy does have Newcastle, who still have the worst defence over the last few game weeks. That's tough. Since you're not going for any United defender, I would probably go for Rashford. I think that's a differential in itself. Having triple United attack basically is a differential. It is risky. I would keep Gaiter, to be honest, and yeah, I'd go for Rashford. But that's a 50-50 one, that Rashford Vardy call. Kane or Son or Holding to start? I would start Kane or Son. I would not start Holding. Start Havertz or Lingard? I already asked you your question, Legolas, and I went for Havertz. Bench Dallas or Soufal? Yeah, I'd bench Dallas, but in big games he's been doing very well. He could keep a clean sheet. He could even nick a goal or something, but I'd go for Soufal. Best of luck to everyone this week. Let's hope there are some good games this week to help for how long this game week is drawn out, and hope everyone's transfers pay off. I completely agree, Dylan. Good luck to you as well, and may God bless Arsenal because they need it. I think Ollie said Mcguire can't play 90 minutes of all games. Might mean he gets subbed off for 1 or 2. Yeah, I said this several times in the stream about Ollie's comments about Mcguire, and that's why I've been telling people to kind of not be too fixated on Mcguire's nailedness and taking -4s, -8s to bring him in, or getting rid of Shaw just because they think he might get benched for Telles and Maguire's going to start every single game. That might not even be the case. So it's very risky whatever happens. But yeah, I think Mcguire is going to start 2 of them, and he might be benched in one of them, where it could be Lindelof and Bailly. But then again, I don't think that combination has ever been used really. It's literally one of them and Mcguire starting. But we'll have to wait and see. Thank you, Dylan. Have a good weekend. Thank you, Mickey. All the very best of luck. Enjoy the football, and hopefully you get some green arrows and end the season very strongly. We have 2 minutes left for the deadline, so any last questions or comments, just let me know. We've been going on for nearly an hour now, or no, an hour and a half, should I say. Lost track of time. It's gone very quickly, so thank you everyone who has tuned in. Really appreciate it. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Dylan_RCM is the same as my YouTube handle, so yeah, would appreciate you follow me on that as well. Eddie says, mate, Iheanacho or Salah captain? I'd go for Salah, but if you're chasing a differential, especially if you're in a rank where you're not really happy with and you want to chase, then yeah, maybe Iheanacho is the better one, but I'd go for Salah out of the 2. And yeah, 1 minute left of the deadline. And let's see, we're literally seconds away. Oof, yeah, 50 seconds left. How many players do you reckon you'll go into next week with? Well, with my current setup, I think 7 or 8. And with a hit or 2, I could easily get 10 or 11. So yeah, I'm not too bothered by the situation. And either way, I always say this, you can't have the perfect team every single week. You're going to have some weeks where you're going to be less prepared or in a not so favourable position, but it happens, and it's just impossible to navigate every single week perfectly. Who to captain, Greenwood or Salah? I'd go for Salah, as I said before. Thank you. Sorry, quick question. Mendy or Martinez? All the best this week. I'd go for Mendy, Mickey, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much. Good luck to you. Thank you, Antoine. All the very best of luck. Havertz or Greenwood? Greenwood for me, definitely, Sahib. Thank you, Chelsea Blues, and congratulations on reaching the Champions League final, although I'll be honest, I don't want you to do that, and I will be supporting City, but yeah, thank you for tuning in. You rock. Oh, so do you, Tulip. Oh, okay, I don't want to butcher the name, actually. I don't want to ruin your great name, so thank you very much, and yeah, hopefully you can tell me how to pronounce it, but really appreciate you tuning in. And the deadline has passed, and our teams are locked in, and we are left with this. Great content, mate. Have a good one. Thank you, Tom Whelan. Hope to see you in more live streams in the future and also videos. And all the very best of luck to everyone who's commenting. And really appreciate it. Thank you, Sahib. Really appreciate it. And good luck with your picks and your captaincy. And thank you, Jayham, for all your positivity and good questions earlier. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Sahib, once again. Thank you, Ario. I wouldn't say I'm a great analyst. I'm just I'm opinionated. I know a little bit about football, not that much though. But thank you very much, and really appreciate your comments and questions. Thanks for the tips. I did Zaha, Greenwood and Digne. No Bruno though. Yeah, well, I mean, you can't have everyone, and Zaha and Greenwood could be great differentials for you. Good luck to you as well, Adil. Really appreciate it. And thank you everyone who has tuned in. And that is a wrap up now. And yeah, I mean, I'll keep on saying this, and you might be tired of this. But yeah, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram. You can communicate with me on there. It's the same as my YouTube handle, as I said before in this stream. And thank you, Jamie. Thank you for tuning in. Tuning in. We're nearly in June, but that's a different story in itself. And yeah, all the very best of luck to everyone this game week. And just enjoy the football. And it's going to be very difficult for me. Will I even be watching Arsenal? Probably not, because we're shit. But that's a different story in itself. And you know what? I'll just watch the Premier League now as a neutral. So thank you very much. And I'm going to enjoy the football for once.